Subscribe to Storylab. Now, let's begin this one. The October sun painted Fort Bragg's tarmac in shades of amber as Damon Harris shouldered his duffel bag, the familiar weight a comfort after 8 months in the Afghan highlands. At 34, he carried the lean, weathered look of a man who'd spent his adult life in the Army's Ranger Regiment, sharp eyes that missed nothing, movements economical and precise. His right hand bore a scar from Kandahar. His left shoulder clicked from a firefight in Kunar, but he'd never complained. Pain was just information. The deployment had been extended twice, turning 6 months into 8. Damon had led his squad through 12 successful operations, brought every man home alive. Command had finally cut him loose 2 weeks early as a reward, though he suspected it was really because Captain Ortiz knew Damon's wedding anniversary was coming up. The surprise would be perfect. Candace had no idea he was stateside. They'd met 6 years ago at a charity event in Fayetteville. Candace Merritt had been a pharmaceutical sales rep, blonde and magnetic, with a laugh that turned heads across rooms. She'd approached him directly, said she liked men who served. The courtship was intense 3 months before he proposed, 4 before they married in her hometown chapel. Her parents, wealthy retirees in Charleston, had paid for everything. Damon's own family was smaller, just his brother Derek and their father, a Vietnam vet who died of Agent Orange complications the year before the wedding. Derek Harris was 2 years older, a Delta Force commander who'd risen through the ranks faster than anyone expected. Where Damon was methodical and patient, Derek was calculated aggression, a tactician who saw 3 moves ahead. The brothers talked monthly via encrypted calls, sharing what they could about deployments. Derek had just rotated back from Yemen, was stationed at Fort Liberty doing selection training for new operators. Damon drove his F-150 from base toward their house in Spring Lake, mentally planning the surprise. Stop at Giovanni's for the linguine Candace loved. Pick up those expensive French candles she'd mentioned before he left, maybe that bracelet from the jeweler downtown. His mind was full of homecoming plans, oblivious to what waited. The house was a modest 3-bedroom ranch they'd bought together, Candace's sales bonuses covering the hefty down payment. Damon kept the mortgage current with automatic payments from his account, sent extra whenever he could. He'd been proud they could afford this place in a decent neighborhood, proud of building something stable. He pulled into the driveway at 1,430 hours, noting Candace's Mercedes was gone. Good, more time to set up the surprise. He used his key, stepped into the entryway, and immediately sensed something off. The house smelled different. Cologne, heavy and expensive. Not his brand. Men's running shoes by the door, size 12. His were size 10. Damon moved through the house with tactical silence, years of training taking over. Mail on the counter, bills addressed to Candace, but also Amazon packages for Shane Thompson delivered here. Shane Thompson. The name clicked. Candace had mentioned a new account she was working, some gym owner expanding his supplement line. She'd said the commission would be substantial. In the living room, the photos had changed. Their wedding picture was gone from the mantel. A frame that once held them hiking in the Smokies now showed just Candace, smiling on a beach he didn't recognize. Damon's jaw tightened. Upstairs in the bedroom, the evidence was undeniable. Men's clothes in the closet that weren't his. Toiletries in the bathroom. A second phone charger on what had been his nightstand. They weren't even hiding it. His chest constricted, not with pain yet, but with the cold, clarifying rage he'd felt only in combat. Damon sat on the bed he'd bought with his re-enlistment bonus, processing. 8 months deployed, and Candace had moved another man into their home. Not just an affair, a replacement. He pulled out his phone, pulled up their joint bank account. She'd been withdrawing cash, large amounts, 3,000 here, 5,000 there. Their savings, half gone. He checked the credit card. Charges at restaurants he'd never been to, hotels in Myrtle Beach, a men's Rolex purchase 6 weeks ago. She wasn't even subtle. Damon's phone buzzed. Derek. Brother, you stateside yet? In my house. Or what used to be my house. Damon's voice was flat. Derek knew that tone. Talk to me. She's been fucking someone. Moved him in. Guy's got clothes in my closet, Derek. His name's on packages delivered to my address. Damon stood, walked to the window. I'm looking at my neighborhood, and I don't even live here anymore. Where's Candace now? Not here. Mercedes is gone. Damon checked his watch. It's Tuesday, 1445. She's probably at work, or his thoughts stopped. Her calendar was on the fridge, always was. He went downstairs, found it. Today's date had a note. SC, with S back Thursday. South Carolina, with Shane. 2 days away. They're on a trip, Damon said. Won't be back until Thursday. Derek's silence lasted 3 seconds. You want me to come down? Not yet. I need to think. Damon opened the fridge. Meal prep containers labeled in handwriting that wasn't Candace's. Protein shakes, the expensive kind. This Shane guy, he's living here full-time. Name? Shane Thompson. Gym owner, supplement sales. That's how they met. I'll run him, Derek said. Give me an hour. Damon spent that hour searching the house methodically. He found Shane's laptop in the home office, password protected. Candace's tablet was easier, she'd never changed the code from their anniversary. Her texts with Shane went back 7 months, starting innocent, turning sexual within 2 weeks. Then the planning started. He'll be deployed until December. Candace had written, "We have time." Shane's responses made Damon's blood pressure spike. When are you going to tell him? Why wait? Just file while he's gone. You deserve someone who's actually here, babe. Candace. I want to. But the house is in both names. And there's his military benefits. My lawyer says wait until he's back. Then we can negotiate. Shane. Fuck negotiating. You're too good for him anyway. Army grunt. Probably got PTSD. You said he barely made $60K last year. Candace. He's so boring, Shane. You make me feel alive. Damon read for 90 minutes, watched his marriage dissected by 2 people who thought he was expendable. They discussed how to maximize Candace's divorce settlement. They'd mocked his career, his scars, the nightmares she knew he sometimes had. Shane had sent pictures of himself in Damon's bed, captioned, "King of the Castle Now." Derek called back. Shane Thompson, 32, owns Thompson Elite Fitness in Fayetteville. 3 locations now, expanding. Clean record except 2 assault charges that got dismissed. Both bar fights. Guy's got a temper. Also, and here's the interesting part, he's been married twice before. First wife filed a restraining order, claimed he beat her. Second wife divorced him after 8 months, no details public. He's violent, Damon said. Pattern suggests yes. Brother, where's your head at right now? Damon looked at the photos on Candace's tablet, her and Shane in Hilton Head, Miami, Asheville. His money funding their romance. I'm gonna wait until they get back. Confront them both. You sure that's wise? I need to see her face when she realizes I know. Derek's exhale was audible. Your call. But Damon, if this goes sideways, you call me. Immediately. I will. I mean it. You've got every right to be pissed, but I need you smart, not angry. Damon almost laughed. I'm always smart. He spent Wednesday preparing. He checked into a hotel, didn't want to stay in that house. He documented everything, photos of Shane's belongings, screenshots of texts, bank statements. He called a divorce attorney in Fayetteville, a former JAG officer who'd helped other soldiers through this. The lawyer, a blunt woman named Patricia Morrison, listened to his situation and gave it to him straight. Adultery doesn't matter as much in North Carolina as people think. Assets get split equitably. If she's been using joint funds for the affair, you have grounds to argue for a larger share. The house is trickier. You're both on the deed. She paused. Mr. Harris, I have to ask. Are you planning to confront her? Yes. I'd advise against it. Emotions run high. Things can escalate. I'm not going to hurt her, Damon said. I just want answers. It's not you I'm worried about. If this Shane is living there, if he's possessive, if he feels his territory is threatened, these confrontations can turn violent. Damon thanked her for the concern, scheduled a follow-up appointment, and hung up. Patricia Morrison didn't understand. He'd led men through combat. He could handle a conversation with his cheating wife. Thursday afternoon, Damon parked his truck 2 blocks from the house and walked, arriving at 1,600 hours. The Mercedes was in the driveway. Shane's black Dodge Charger was beside it. Damon's hands were steady as he approached the front door. He used his key. The house was quiet. Then he heard voices from the kitchen, Candace laughing. That sound he'd once loved. Damon walked down the hallway, his boots silent on the hardwood, and stopped in the doorway. Candace was at the stove, wearing a sundress he'd never seen. Shane Thompson stood behind her, arms around her waist, nuzzling her neck. He was bigger than Damon expected, 6'2", maybe 220, gym-muscled and tan. Tattoos covered his arms. "Hey, Candace," Damon said. She spun, face draining white. Shane straightened, eyes narrowing. "Damon, what are you? You're not supposed to be back until," Candace stammered. "Until December." "I know." Damon stepped into the kitchen, casual, hands in his pockets. "Got released early. Surprise." Shane moved in front of Candace, protective. "Who the fuck are you?" Damon almost smiled. "I'm the guy who pays the mortgage on this house." "Who the fuck are you?" "Damon, please, let me explain," Candace started. "Explain what?" "That you've been screwing this guy for 7 months? That you moved him into our house? That you've been stealing from our accounts to fund your little romance?" Damon's voice stayed level. "I read the texts, Candace. All of them." Her face shifted from shock to something harder. "You went through my phone? Your tablet? You left it unlocked." Damon looked at Shane. "Did she tell you about the restraining orders? The assault charges?" Shane's jaw clenched. "Those were bullshit. Both wives lying, huh?" Damon shook his head. "Candace, you really know how to pick them. Don't talk to her like that," Shane said, stepping forward. Damon didn't retreat. "Or what? You'll what?" "Exactly?" Candace's expression changed. The guilt evaporated, replaced by something cold. "You want to know the truth, Damon? Fine. I stopped loving you 2 years ago. You're never here, and when you are, you're just boring. Shane treats me right. He's building an empire. He's going places. What are you? A sergeant who'll retire at 50 with a mediocre pension." The words were designed to cut, and they did, but Damon had been cut before. "That it? I'm boring?" "You're a fucking Boy Scout," Shane said. "Honor and duty and all that rah-rah bullshit. Real men take what they want. Real men hide behind women." Damon's eyes locked on Shane. "Real men move into another man's house while he's deployed?" Shane's face darkened. "You should leave." "It's my house." "Not anymore." Shane moved closer. "You heard her. She doesn't want you. So, take your shit and get the fuck out before I make you." Damon almost walked away then. He'd gotten his answers, had his documentation. The smart move was to leave, let the lawyers handle it. But Shane was standing in his kitchen, wearing a watch Candace bought with Damon's money, threatening him in his own home. "No," Damon said quietly. Shane's fist came fast, a right hook meant for Damon's jaw. But Damon had seen punches coming in dark Afghan compounds, from men trying to kill him. He slipped it easily, let Shane's momentum carry him forward, considered putting him down with a joint lock. That's when Shane grabbed the sledgehammer. It had been leaning against the wall. They'd been doing renovations before Damon deployed. Shane swung it like a baseball bat, and Damon barely got his left arm up in time. The impact shattered his radius and ulna, bones breaking with sounds like dry branches snapping. Damon went down, pain exploding white behind his eyes. "Harder!" Candace screamed, and Damon realized she wasn't scared, she was excited. "Finish him!" Shane raised the sledgehammer again, and Damon rolled, trying to get to his feet. The second blow caught his ribs, collapsing his left side. He heard 3 ribs crack, felt his lung compress. The third blow hit his right shoulder, dislocating it with a wet pop. Damon's vision blurred. He tried to move, to fight, but his body wasn't responding. Shane was methodical now, working from the top down. Blow 4 crushed Damon's collarbone. 5 and 6 pulverized his right hand. 7 through 12 broke more ribs, 1 puncturing his lung. He tasted blood. "Stop moving," Shane grunted, sweating now. "Just fucking die already." Candace was filming it on her phone. Damon realized through the haze of pain. She was recording her husband's murder. He tried to voice dial, kept failing. Blood filled his mouth. Blow 27 shattered his pelvis, and he felt his legs go numb. Shane was breathing hard, taking breaks between swings now. Candace kept cheering him on, shrieking encouragement. Damon's left hand found his phone in his pocket. He couldn't see the screen, everything was red and black, but muscle memory helped him unlock it, find Derek's contact. Voice command barely worked through the blood in his throat. "Call Derek," he whispered. The phone rang. Shane was on blow 43, working on Damon's legs now, methodically destroying the bones. Derek answered on the second ring. "Brother," Damon gasped. Send your team. Where are you? Derek's voice went sharp, professional. Home. Sledgehammer. 50. 50. Blow 48 broke his left femur. Finish him. Candace screamed again. He's still breathing. Brother, stay with me, Derek said. I'm tracking your phone. Medics are rolling. 9 minutes out. Shane raised the hammer for another blow. 49 connected with Damon's already broken pelvis, grinding bone fragments. 50 hit his abdomen, rupturing something internal. 51 and 52 were wild swings that mostly missed. Shane too exhausted to aim properly. Then Shane stopped, leaning on the hammer, panting. He's done. Call it an accident. Say we found him like this. There's so much blood, Candace said, and now she sounded scared. Damon's vision was narrowing to a tunnel. His phone was still connected, still broadcasting. He heard sirens in the distance, getting closer. Derek's voice in his ear. Medical's 3 minutes out. Stay awake. Tell me you can hear me. Hear you, Damon managed. Shane heard it too. Fuck, he still got his phone. He kicked it away, and Damon lost Derek's voice. The next 3 minutes lasted forever. Damon floated in and out, heard Candace and Shane arguing about what to do, whether to run or stay. His training kicked in stay conscious, keep breathing, survive. Operators from his regiment had survived worse. He'd survived this. Paramedics crashed through the door. Damon heard their shocked gasps, their rapid-fire medical jargon. Someone was applying tourniquets, starting IVs. He heard cops arriving, heard Shane and Candace being confronted. Candace was crying now, playing victim. He attacked Shane first. Shane was just defending us. A paramedic's face appeared above Damon. Sir, can you hear me? We're getting you out of here. Damon tried to nod. Couldn't move his head. Don't try to talk. You've got multiple fractures, internal bleeding. We're taking you to Cape Fear Valley. Trauma team's waiting. They loaded him onto a stretcher. As they carried him out, Damon saw Shane and Candace in handcuffs, both screaming at the officers. One cop was watching Candace's video, his face grim. Good, Damon thought hazily. Evidence. In the ambulance, racing toward the hospital, Damon felt his consciousness slipping. The paramedic kept calling to him, trying to keep him present. Damon focused on one thought. Derek was coming. His brother was coming. He passed out as they wheeled him into the trauma bay. Doctors swarming, voices sharp and urgent. The last thing he heard was someone saying, Jesus Christ, what kind of monster does this to someone? The surgeon, Dr. Patricia Chin, worked on Damon for 11 hours. She later told him it was the worst beating she'd seen in 20 years of trauma surgery. Both arms shattered, left arm requiring 3 plates and 14 screws. 11 broken ribs, one puncturing his left lung, which they had to reinflate. Collarbone snapped in 2 places. Both hands fractured. Right hand, losing 2 fingers that couldn't be saved. Pelvis shattered in 9 places, requiring external fixation. Both femurs broken. His left tibia fractured. Internal bleeding from a ruptured spleen, which they removed. Bruised kidney. And that was just the physical damage. When Damon woke up 48 hours later, his entire body was immobilized in traction. His torso wrapped, his limbs in casts, his face swollen beyond recognition. He couldn't speak through the ventilator tube, couldn't move anything except his eyes. Derek was sitting beside the bed, still in his combat uniform, like he'd come straight from base. His eyes were red-rimmed, face haggard. When he saw Damon was awake, he leaned forward carefully. Hey, brother. Derek's voice cracked. You're at Cape Fear Valley. You've been in surgery. You're going to be okay. Damon tried to communicate with his eyes, managed a small sound behind the ventilator. Derek understood. Candace and Shane are in custody. They charged them both attempted murder, conspiracy, a list of other shit. The cops have Candace's video. She filmed the whole thing, brother. Every blow. Cheered him on. It's over for them. Damon made another sound, more urgent. Derek's expression changed, became something darker. You said to send my team. I did. They're here. He paused. You remember we talked about this years ago, after Kabul? About what we'd do if anything ever happened to family. Damon remembered. Late night in a firebase, both brothers awake after a close call, talking about worst-case scenarios. They'd made promises to each other then. Blood oaths, really. Derek leaned closer, voice dropping. Judge set bail at $500,000 each. Shane's family scraped it together. Bonded him out this morning. Candace's parents paid hers. They're both out, Damon. Free. For now. Damon felt rage burn through the morphine haze. But here's the thing, Derek continued. They bonded out into my custody. Not officially, they're out on bail with ankle monitors. But brother, they walked out of that courthouse, and my team was waiting. We have them now. Damon's eyes widened. You voice-dialed me during the attack. You said send your team. Under military law, that's a request for assistance during an attack on military personnel and their families. My JAG officer signed off on it. We're operating under Title 10 authority. Derek's smile was cold. Shane and Candace think they're getting away with this. They're about to learn different. A doctor came in then, checked Damon's vitals, adjusted his medications. When she left, Derek continued. My 12 operators best men in the unit. We've been planning since I got your call. We have a location, secure, off-grid. Shane and Candace are there now. He checked his watch. It's 0800 Thursday. You were attacked Tuesday afternoon. We extracted them last night, around 2300. They've been in our custody for 9 hours. Damon tried to speak, couldn't. Derek pulled out his phone, showed Damon photos. A warehouse, abandoned, in the middle of nowhere. Inside, 2 chairs bolted to the floor. Shane and Candace zip-tied to them, gagged, eyes wide with terror. What your brother's 12 operators did to them over 9 hours. Made your wounds look like paper cuts. Derek quoted softly. That's what you're thinking, right? That's what you want. Damon managed the smallest nod. Derek's face was stone. Then that's what you'll get. They try to murder you, brother. In our world, there's a price for that. He stood. You rest. Heal. When you're strong enough. When you can move again, I'll bring you there. You can see what we've done. What we're still doing. Because, brother, 9 hours? That was just the beginning. A nurse came in, said visiting hours were over. Derek squeezed Damon's shoulder carefully, avoiding the injuries. I'll be back tomorrow. You're not alone in this. After Derek left, Damon lay in his hospital bed, body broken, mind clear. He should have felt guilty. Should have stopped Derek. Told him to let the legal system handle it. But as he lay there, remembering Candace screaming, finish him, remembering Shane's methodical brutality, remembering the 52 blows that had nearly killed him, Damon felt only one thing: satisfaction. Let them suffer. Let them learn what happens when you try to break a Harris brother. Let them understand that some men like Damon, men like Derek, men who'd served in the world's darkest corners played by different rules. The morphine pulled him under again, and Damon slept dreamlessly, his body healing, his brother working. Justice, he thought as consciousness faded, came in many forms. 3 days later, Damon was stable enough to breathe without the ventilator. His jaw was wired shut from a fracture they'd missed initially, but he could manage sounds, could communicate through writing when his less damaged left hand allowed it. Dr. Chen was cautiously optimistic about his recovery, though she warned he'd need months of physical therapy, multiple additional surgeries. Derek visited daily, always in civilian clothes now, always careful to avoid specific details about where Shane and Candace were. But he'd bring his tablet, show Damon photos. The warehouse. Shane and Candace, increasingly desperate. The ankle monitors they'd been wearing when captured, now destroyed. The paper trail Derek's team had created showing both of them fleeing to Mexico. Police think they ran, Derek explained on day 4. Skipped bail, crossed the border. Federal warrants issued. Everyone's looking in the wrong direction. He smiled. My team's good at misdirection. Damon wrote on a notepad. Legal issues? None. We're covered. I've got friends in places you don't want to know about. This is sanctioned, brother. Not officially, but sanctioned. Derek's expression hardened. You think you're the first soldier to come home and get ambushed? You think the community doesn't take care of its own? The community. Damon knew what that meant: the network of special operations veterans, active and retired, who looked out for each other. Men who'd operated in gray zones for years, who understood that sometimes the system failed and justice required different methods. What have you done to them? Derek's pause was significant. Everything they did to you, we've done back. Systematically, carefully. We're documenting it. Just like Candace documented your beating. Fair is fair. He leaned forward. You want details? Damon hesitated, then nodded. Shane broke your left arm first. So we broke his. Both bones, same place. Used a sledgehammer, just like he used on you. 12 ribs followed. We matched his hits. His collarbone, his hands, his pelvis. We've been working through your injuries in order, making him feel everything you felt. And Candace? She didn't swing the hammer, but she cheered. She filmed. She encouraged him to kill you. Derek's voice went cold. We're making her watch everything we do to Shane. Every break, every scream. She doesn't get touched yet, but she gets to see what her choices led to. She gets to live with it. Damon wrote, how long? However long it takes. We're at 72 hours now. Shane's begging us to kill him. Candace has stopped talking. Just cries. But brother, we're not done. Not even close. A social worker came by that afternoon. A kind woman named Mrs. Patterson who specialized in violent crime victims. She talked to Damon about trauma, about healing, about the legal process ahead. Damon listened, nodded appropriately, and said nothing about Derek's visits. That evening, his lawyer Patricia Morrison came by with papers. The district attorney wants to talk to you when you're able. They've got a strong case. Candace's videos sealed it. Both defendants fled, which doesn't help their cause. When they're caught, they'll go away for decades. If they're caught, Damon thought, but didn't write. Patricia continued. Your wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, emptied your joint accounts before fleeing. About $40,000. We can recover some of that in the civil suit, but it'll take time. She paused. I have to ask, Damon, do you think they'll come back? Try to finish what they started? Damon shook his head firmly. He knew exactly where they were, knew they weren't coming back, knew they weren't capable of threatening anyone anymore. A week into his hospitalization, Damon was moved to a rehabilitation facility. He could sit up now, though it hurt like hell. His right hand was gone from the middle knuckle on 2 fingers, wrapped in gauze. His left arm was in a full cast, pins sticking out from the external fixation on his pelvis. He looked like a car crash victim, because essentially, he was. Physical therapy started immediately, gentle at first, just maintaining range of motion in undamaged joints. The therapist, a veteran himself named Marcus, understood Damon's background. Seeing guys bounce back from worse, Marcus said encouragingly, you're young, you're fit, you've got the mindset. You'll walk again, brother. Might take 6 months, but you'll walk. Derek visited that afternoon with news. Shane coded twice yesterday. We had to bring him back. Can't let him off that easy. He showed Damon new photos. Shane was unrecognizable, swollen, broken, barely human. We're at day 7 now. Candace is catatonic. Hasn't spoken in 3 days. Just sits there. Stares. Damon felt nothing looking at the photos. No pity, no remorse. These people had tried to murder him in his own home, had celebrated his destruction. Now, they were learning that actions had consequences. 9 hours, he wrote. You said 9 hours. Originally, yes. But brother, we've been creative. We're taking our time, making it educational. Derek's smile was sharp. Shane particularly enjoyed the part where we broke his legs. He cried like a baby, asked why we were doing this. So we played Candace's video for him. All 23 minutes of it. Every time he screamed harder, every time he raised that sledgehammer, we played it back for him. Is he going to survive? Medically, our team medic is keeping him stable. Psychologically, Derek shrugged. That's a different question. Man breaks after enough pain. Shane broke around hour 90. Candace broke around hour 80. But we're not stopping until you say stop. Damon considered this. Part of him, the part that had taken an oath to defend the Constitution, the part that believed in law and order, knew this was wrong. Torture was illegal, immoral, against everything he'd fought for. But another part, the part that still felt ghost pains from 52 sledgehammer blows, the part that remembered his wife cheering his murder, felt only cold satisfaction. He wrote, when can I see them? Derek's eyebrows rose. You want to? Yes. Doc says you'll be mobile in 2 weeks. Wheelchair at least. I can arrange transport then. It'll be rough, brother. You sure? Damon nodded firmly. All right. 2 weeks. You can see what justice looks like when the system fails. The next 13 days were hell. Physical therapy was agony, relearning how to sit up properly, how to bear weight on shattered bones healing wrong. The surgeons had to re-break his left femur because it was knitting at an angle, putting him back another week. His pelvis was a jigsaw puzzle held together with metal and hope. The phantom pain from his missing fingers kept him awake at night. But Damon pushed through it all with singular focus. He needed to be mobile, needed to see Shane and Candace, needed to look them in the eyes while they suffered, the way they'd looked down at him while he bled. His father's voice echoed in his memory old lessons from childhood. Pain is temporary, son, but quitting lasts forever. The old man had been tough, maybe too tough, but he'd raised sons who didn't break. Vietnam had taken his youth, Agent Orange his life, but he'd never complained, just soldiered on. Damon channeled that now. Every painful therapy session, every time Marcus pushed him past his limits, every night when the pain was so bad, he wanted to scream. Damon thought about his father, about Derek, about the men he'd served with. Harassment didn't quit. On day 19, Dr. Chen cleared him for limited wheelchair mobility. "You're healing faster than expected," she said, reviewing his x-rays. "The pelvis is still fragile, and you'll need more surgeries on the left arm, but you're stable enough for short trips outside the facility. Physical therapy only, understand? No stress, no excitement." "Understood," Damon said, his jaw finally unwired. Derek picked him up that evening in an unmarked van, wheelchair accessible. Two of his operators were with him, Aaron Monroe and Patrick Cochran, both Delta Force sergeants Damon had met briefly over the years. Solid men, quiet professionals. "You ready for this?" Derek asked as they drove. Yes. The warehouse was 90 minutes away, deep in rural Cumberland County, accessed by a dirt road that hadn't seen maintenance in years. The building itself was enormous, a former textile mill abandoned for decades. Perfect isolation. Aaron and Patrick helped Damon inside, wheelchair navigating rough concrete. The main space was vast and dark, lit by work lights. In the center, under the brightest lights, were the chairs. Shane Thompson was no longer recognizable as human. His face was purple and swollen, eyes nearly shut, nose clearly broken multiple times. Both arms hung at wrong angles, casted but improperly, deliberately. His chest was bare, showing bruises that covered every inch of skin. His legs were extended, casted, but Damon could see the unnatural angles even through the plaster. Candace sat next to him, physically untouched but psychologically destroyed. Her blonde hair was matted and dirty, her expensive clothes torn and stained. Her eyes were vacant, staring at nothing. When Damon's wheelchair approached, she didn't even register his presence. Derek knelt beside Damon's chair. "They've been here 20 days now. We've matched every injury you sustained, plus interest. Shane's pelvis, both legs, both arms, ribs, collarbone all broken. Same way, same method. We've kept him alive, kept him conscious for most of it. The medic says he's got maybe another week before his body starts shutting down from the trauma." Damon wheeled closer, stopped in front of Shane. The man's eyes flickered, trying to focus. "Do you know who I am?" Damon asked. Shane's mouth moved. No sound emerged at first. Then, barely audible, "Damon. That's right. Sergeant Damon Harris, 75th Ranger Regiment. The boring guy you tried to murder in his own kitchen." Damon's voice was conversational. "How are you feeling, Shane?" A whimper. "Because I've been feeling pretty rough myself. 11 surgeries so far. Lost 2 fingers. They say I might walk again, but probably with a limp. My left lung doesn't work right anymore. I've got chronic pain that'll last the rest of my life." Damon leaned forward carefully. "All because you swung a sledgehammer at me 52 times. Please," Shane whispered. "Please kill me." "Oh, I'm not going to kill you. Neither is my brother. We're going to keep you alive, keep you suffering, for as long as your body holds out. You wanted to be king of the castle, right? Wanted to take what was mine? Well, congratulations. You got my attention." Damon turned to Candace. She was staring at the floor, rocking slightly. "Candace." No response. "Candace." She looked up slowly, and when she saw Damon, something in her eyes flickered recognition, maybe fear. "Remember our wedding vows?" Damon asked. For better or worse, in sickness and health? You remember standing in that chapel, telling me you'd love me forever? A tear rolled down her cheek. You filmed my murder, Candace. You cheered while Shane destroyed my body. You yelled, "Finish him," like you were at a goddamn boxing match. Damon's voice didn't rise, stayed level. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? Did you think you could just walk away? I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Damon. I didn't mean. You didn't mean what? Didn't mean to fuck another man in our bed? Didn't mean to steal $40,000? Didn't mean to record my murder for posterity? Damon laughed bitterly. You meant every bit of it, Candace. You just didn't mean to get caught. Derek stepped forward. Brother, you want us to continue? Or are you satisfied? Damon studied Shane and Candace. These two people who'd nearly ended his life, who'd betrayed and destroyed him. Part of him wanted to say stop, wanted to be the better man, wanted to let the legal system handle them. But looking at Shane's broken body, at Candace's shattered psyche, Damon felt only cold justice. Continue, he said quietly. But not the physical torture. That's done. Derek nodded. What do you want? Damon thought for a long moment. I want them to live. I want them to survive this, physically recover. And then, I want them to face trial, face prison, face their families and friends knowing what they tried to do and how badly they failed. He looked at Candace. I want her to spend the next 30 years in a North Carolina prison, remembering that she chose this. That she could have just divorced me, walked away clean, but instead she chose attempted murder. He turned to Shane. And I want him in general population, no protective custody. I want every inmate to know he tried to kill a ranger with a sledgehammer. I want him to spend every day watching his back, wondering when someone's going to shank him just for the principle of it. Derek smiled slowly. That's darker than torture, brother. That's justice. Real justice. They get to live with what they did for decades. And every time Shane looks in a mirror and sees his broken face, every time Candace closes her eyes and remembers these 20 days, they'll know they brought this on themselves. Patrick Cochran spoke for the first time. We'll need to stage a capture. Make it look like they got sloppy in Mexico, got caught. Can you do that? Damon asked. We've done harder. Patrick looked at Derek. 2 days to set it up. Then we'll drop them near the border, tip off the feds. They'll be in custody by the weekend. Derek knelt beside Damon's wheelchair again. You sure about this? We can end them right now, make them disappear. No one would ever know. I'd know, Damon said. And I don't want to be a murderer. I want to be a survivor. I want to walk out of this with my honor intact, even if my body isn't. Then that's what we'll do. Derek stood, addressed his team. Clean them up. Medical attention, just enough to stabilize. We'll start the extraction protocol tomorrow. As Aaron and Patrick moved to follow orders, Damon took one last look at Shane and Candace. They were both crying now, realizing they'd have to face the consequences of their actions in a court of law, in front of their families, in the cold light of public scrutiny. One more thing, Damon said. I want to testify. At the trial. I want to look at the jury and tell them exactly what happened, every detail. I want Candace's parents to hear what their daughter became. I want Shane's family to know what kind of monster he is. Can you make sure I'm strong enough by then? Derek's hand gripped his shoulder. Brother, by the time this goes to trial, you'll be walking again. I guarantee it. They left the warehouse, drove back to the rehabilitation facility in silence. As Aaron helped Damon back into his room, Derek pulled him aside. You made the right call in there. The hard call, but the right one. Did I? Damon asked. I feel like I should feel worse about this. You were defending yourself even after the fact. They tried to kill you. Everything that happened to them, they earned. Derek paused. And brother, I'm proud of you. Not just for surviving, but for staying yourself despite everything. A lot of men would have wanted them dead. You chose justice instead. After Derek left, Damon lay in his hospital bed, body aching, mind clearer than it had been in weeks. He'd made his choices, lived with the consequences. Shane and Candace would do the same. The next morning, physical therapy resumed. Marcus pushed Damon harder, sensing a change in him. You've got a goal now, Marcus observed. I can see it. What changed? I got closure, Damon said simply. 2 days later, the news broke. Shane Thompson and Candace Merritt Harris, wanted for attempted murder and bail jumping, had been captured by Mexican authorities near Tijuana and extradited back to North Carolina. Both were being held without bail at Cumberland County Detention Center, awaiting trial. Detective Raymond Lopez, the investigator on Damon's case, visited him that afternoon. "Mr. Harris, I wanted to let you know we've recaptured your attackers. They're in custody. They won't hurt you again." "That's good news," Damon said carefully. "They're pretty beat up, claiming they were tortured, held captive. But their story keeps changing, and we found evidence they were living rough in Mexico. Malnutrition, exposure, probably got into fights down there." Lopez shrugged. "Frankly, I don't care what happened to them. They tried to kill you. They'll pay for it." "When's the trial?" 6 to 8 months, probably. DA wants to make sure you're recovered enough to testify." "Can you do that?" "I'll be there," Damon promised. "Even if I have to crawl into that courtroom, I'll be there." Lopez smiled grimly. "Good. We're going to bury them." The trial of State of North Carolina v. Shane Thompson and Candace Merritt Harris began 8 months later on a cold February morning. Damon walked into the Cumberland County Courthouse on his own power, using a cane, limping but upright. 8 months of physical therapy, 3 additional surgeries, and thousands of hours of painful rehabilitation had gotten him here. Derek walked beside him, protective but unnecessary. Damon was strong enough now. His left arm was scarred but functional. His pelvis had healed enough to bear weight. His lung capacity was improving. He'd never be the soldier he was. Medical retirement had come through in December, but he was alive, mobile, and clear-headed. The courtroom was packed. Media attention had been intense since the capture. The story of a decorated soldier beaten nearly to death by his wife's lover while the wife filmed it had captured national outrage. Candace's parents sat in the back, looking old and broken. Shane's family was absent. They'd disowned him when the video surfaced. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution, led by DA Elizabeth English, was methodical and devastating. They played Candace's video in open court, all 23 minutes of it. Jurors visibly recoiled watching Shane swing the sledgehammer again and again while Candace screamed encouragement. They showed medical records, X-rays, photographs of Damon's injuries. Defense attorneys tried to argue Shane acted in self-defense, that Damon had threatened him, but Damon's testimony destroyed that narrative. "I came home early from deployment," Damon told the jury, his voice steady. "I discovered my wife had been having an affair and had moved her lover into our house. I confronted them verbally. I never raised my hand, never made a threatening gesture. Shane grabbed the sledgehammer and attacked me. I had no weapon. I was simply standing in my own kitchen, asking questions." The jury watched him, this man who'd served his country, who'd come home to betrayal, who'd been destroyed in his own home, and their expressions said everything. Candace's attorney tried to paint her as a victim, manipulated by Shane. But when they played her voice screaming, "Finish him," that defense crumbled. Damon's turn came on day 15. DA English walked him through every detail, every blow, every moment of horror. The jury was rapt. "Mr. Harris, in your own words, tell us what you remember from that day." Damon took a breath, looked at the jury. "I remember my wife, the woman I'd pledged my life to, cheering while another man tried to beat me to death. I remember counting the blows, trying to stay conscious, knowing if I passed out I'd never wake up. I remember managing to call my brother, whisper for help, and then feeling blow after blow breaking my body apart. What did you think was going to happen? I thought I was going to die. I thought Candace and Shane would murder me, cover it up, and get away with it." Damon's voice didn't waver. "The only thing that saved me was my training, my will to survive, and my brother responding when I called for help." During cross-examination, Shane's attorney tried to make Damon seem vindictive. "Mr. Harris, isn't it true you wanted revenge against my client?" "I wanted justice," Damon corrected. "There's a difference. You used your military connections to have my client and Mrs. Harris tracked down, captured. I used my connections to help law enforcement locate 2 fugitives who'd fled the country after attempting to murder me. That's not revenge. That's helping the system work." The attorney pressed. "My client claims he was tortured while in custody of unknown individuals. Did you have any knowledge of that?" Damon met the attorney's eyes. "Your client tried to kill me with a sledgehammer. If someone decided to return the favor before he was captured, I have no knowledge of it. But I also wouldn't lose sleep over it." The courtroom stirred. The judge banged his gavel. Candace's testimony was brief. She claimed she'd been scared of Damon, that Shane was protecting her. But, under cross-examination, DA English destroyed her. Mrs. Harris, if you were afraid of your husband, why did you film his beating? Why did you yell, "Finish him"? Why did you send text messages to Shane weeks before this incident discussing how to maximize your divorce settlement? Candace had no good answers. She broke down on the stand, crying, saying she'd made mistakes. But the jury's expressions were stone. Shane didn't testify. His attorney advised against it, knowing the video was indefensible. Closing arguments came on day 18. DA English was passionate and precise. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about betrayal at the deepest level. A man serves his country honorably, comes home early to surprise his wife, and discovers she's betrayed him. He confronts this betrayal verbally, non-violently. And for that, he's beaten within an inch of his life while his wife films and encourages his murder. She gestured to Damon. Look at this man. He survived 52 blows from a sledgehammer. He survived his wife's betrayal. He survived the defendant's attempt to flee justice. And now, he's here, asking you to do one thing: hold them accountable. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, their verdict was unanimous on all counts. Shane Thompson, guilty of attempted murder, guilty of assault with a deadly weapon, guilty of conspiracy. Sentencing recommendation: 30 to 40 years. Candace Merritt Harris, guilty of attempted murder, guilty of conspiracy, guilty of accessory to assault. Sentencing recommendation: 25 to 30 years. The courtroom erupted. Candace's parents sobbed. Shane stared at the table, expressionless. Candace collapsed, having to be held up by her attorney. The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. As Damon walked out of the courthouse, media swarmed, but Derek's hand on his shoulder kept him moving. They reached Derek's truck, drove away from the chaos. "How are you feeling?" Derek asked. "Tired. Relieved." Damon looked out the window. "They'll actually pay for what they did. 30 years minimum. They'll be old when they get out." "Brother." "Broken." Damon thought about Shane in that warehouse, begging for death. Thought about Candace's vacant stare. They're already broken. Prison's just going to make it permanent. Sentencing day came, cold and gray. Judge Patricia Morrison, no relation to his lawyer, was known for harsh sentences in violent crimes. She didn't disappoint. "Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Harris, I've reviewed the evidence in this case. Watched the video of your crime, read the medical reports. What you did to Sergeant Harris is among the most brutal, premeditated attacks I've witnessed in my career. You didn't just try to kill him, you savored it, celebrated it, documented it. You showed no mercy, no remorse." She looked at Shane. "Mr. Thompson, I sentence you to 40 years in North Carolina. Correctional. No possibility of parole for 30 years. You will serve this sentence in general population." Shane's face went white. General population meant no protection from other inmates, many of whom were veterans or had family in the military. He'd be a target every day. The judge turned to Candace. "Mrs. Harris, you didn't swing the weapon, but you encouraged it, filmed it, and showed pleasure in your husband's suffering. I sentence you to 30 years, no parole, for 25. Candace was sobbing uncontrollably as guards led her away. Her parents tried to approach Damon in the hallway, her mother crying, saying something about forgiveness. Derek stepped between them. "Your daughter tried to murder my brother. You want to talk about forgiveness? Save it for God, because Damon doesn't owe you a damn thing." They left the courthouse for the last time. The media circus continued for a few weeks, then faded. Damon's story became a cautionary tale, a viral news item, and then history. 18 months after the attack, Damon Harris stood in his new apartment in Raleigh, boxes still unpacked, looking out at the city. His cane leaned against the wall. He didn't need it all the time now, just on bad days. His left arm had full range of motion back. His missing fingers were noticeable but manageable. The chronic pain was real but controlled. He'd bought the place with his settlement. The courts had awarded him the house, all assets, plus damages from Candace's family. He'd sold the house immediately, couldn't live there again, couldn't erase the memory of his blood on that kitchen floor. Derek visited weekly, checking in, making sure Damon was adjusting to civilian life. The transition was hard. Retirement at 35 wasn't something Damon had planned. But the Army had taken care of him, full disability pension plus his savings. He wasn't rich, but he was stable. He'd started working part-time at a veterans organization, helping other soldiers transition out of service. Turned out getting beaten nearly to death by his wife's lover gave him credibility when talking about trauma and recovery. Who knew? His phone rang. Marcus, his physical therapist turned friend. Damon, you coming to the gym tonight? Got a new group of vets starting rehab. Thought you could talk to them. I'll be there, Damon said. He hung up, looked at his reflection in the window. He was different now, scars inside and out, harder, warier. But alive, still standing, still moving forward. The doorbell rang. Damon limped to answer it. Found Derek with pizza and beer. Thought you might want company, Derek said. They ate on the couch, watching a baseball game, not talking about Shane or Candace or warehouses or trials. Just brothers, together, alive. You doing okay? Derek asked eventually. Yeah, getting there. Damon paused. You ever regret what we did? Derek considered this. We made sure they faced justice, real justice. They're in prison because of evidence, a legal trial, a jury of their peers. We didn't murder them, didn't make them disappear. We just expedited the process. And the warehouse? That was justice too. Different kind. Derek met Damon's eyes. You were attacked. We defended you, even after the fact. That's what brothers do. Damon nodded slowly. He still wasn't sure how he felt about those 20 days, about the torture Shane and Candace endured. But when he thought about Candace screaming, "Finish him," about Shane's methodical brutality, about dying in his own kitchen while his wife filmed it, he couldn't bring himself to feel guilty. There's suffering now, Derek added. Shane's been in 3 fights already, lost 2 teeth. Guards don't intervene quick when he's involved. Candace is in solitary half the time for her own protection, going crazy in isolation. They're paying, brother. Every day, they're paying. Good, Damon said, and meant it. 6 months later, Damon met someone. Christy Lang, a nurse at the VA hospital where he volunteered. She was pretty and kind, had no patience for bullshit, and treated his scars like they were just part of who he was. They started dating slowly. Damon was cautious about trust now, probably always would be. On their 5th date, he told her the whole story. Candace, Shane, the sledgehammer, the trial. She listened quietly, then took his damaged hand in hers. I read about that case. I didn't realize you were that Damon Harris. She paused. You're incredibly strong. You know that? I'm a survivor, Damon corrected. There's a difference. No, Christy said firmly. You're strong. You survived something that would have broken most people, and you came out the other side still yourself. Still kind, still good. That's strength. Damon kissed her then, and for the first time since coming home from Afghanistan, felt like maybe he had a future. A real one, not defined by betrayal and violence. 2 years after the attack, Damon married Christy in a small ceremony at a mountain lodge. Derek was best man. Aaron and Patrick and the rest of Derek's team attended. A show of solidarity. No one from Damon's first wedding was there. That life was over, buried. They honeymooned in Colorado, hiking trails Damon once thought he'd never walk again. His limp was permanent, his pain chronic, but manageable. He'd never be the soldier he was, but he could be something else, something better. One evening, sitting on a deck watching the sunset, Christy asked, "Do you ever think about them? About what they're going through?" "Sometimes," Damon admitted. "But then I remember what they tried to do, and I stopped caring." "You're not bitter," Christy observed. "You should be, but you're not. I'm alive. I have you, have Derek, have a future. They have nothing. That's enough." Damon squeezed her hand. "I don't need revenge anymore. I already won." And he had. Shane Thompson would spend the next 28 years in prison, earning new scars, living in fear. Candace would serve 23 more years, aging in a cell, remembering the life she'd destroyed. Both would be old, broken, forgotten by the time they were released. But Damon Harris, the man they'd tried to murder, the boring soldier they'd discarded, he was living, building a new life, a better life. He'd survived their betrayal, survived their violence, survived the darkest moment of his existence. And every morning when he woke up next to Christy, every time he worked with veterans who needed help, every time Derek called to check in, Damon was reminded that he'd won. Not through revenge, not through violence, but through survival, through refusing to let Shane and Candace destroy him. That was the real victory. 5 years after the attack, Damon Harris stood in his backyard, grilling burgers for friends. Derek was there with his wife and kids. Marcus came with his family. Other vets from the transition program, people Damon had helped. The yard was full of laughter and life. His left arm ached from old fractures. His pelvis clicked when he walked. His missing fingers made certain tasks difficult. But he was here, alive, surrounded by people who mattered. Christy came out with their 6-month-old daughter, Maggie. In her arms, Damon took the baby carefully, held her against his scarred chest, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Complete peace. Shane and Candace had tried to end him, tried to erase Damon Harris from existence. They'd failed spectacularly. And now, 5 years later, while they rotted in separate prisons, Damon was living the life they'd tried to steal. He looked at Derek across the yard, raised his beer in silent salute. His brother raised his own, understanding passing between them. They'd walked through darkness together, done things they'd never speak of outside closed rooms, and come out the other side still themselves. Justice had been served. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but completely. And Damon Harris, the man who'd survived 52 blows from a sledgehammer, who'd been betrayed by his wife, who'd nearly died in his own kitchen, that man was still standing, still fighting, still winning.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.